Bonjour à tous.
Good morning, everybody.
Et bienvenue à la conférence de
Welcome to this press conference on the film Heli,
qui est en compétition,
which is in competition.
Et je vous présente les
It's a
personnes
world
qui sont
premiere.
ici
And I'll present the people who are at the table.
Tout à fait à l'extrémité,
at the far end,
à ma gauche, le producteur,
we have the producer,
ou producteur, Monsieur Jaime
Romandia.
C'est ça? Hello. À côté de moi,
Next to me, we have the co-writer, Gabriel Reyes.
À côté de lui,
next to him, Armando Ispitia, who plays the lead role, Heli.
On saute une personne au milieu.
We'll jump the person in the middle.
On arrive à la jeune demoiselle
and
qui joue le rôle de Estella.
We have the person playing Estella, the sister
du personnage de Heli,
of Heli. Her name is Andrea Vergara.
Bienvenue, mademoiselle.
Welcome.
Et enfin, au centre,
and in the middle,
le réalisateur,
we have the director, co-writer, co-producer of the film, Amat Escalante.
On va commencer par vous,
We're going to start with you,
vous avez
Mr. Escalante.
votre troisième film.
This is your third film.
Your
two preceding films.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to do it in English? Vos deux films précédents
Your
sont
two
venus à
preceding
Cannes.
films came to Cannes as well.
Là, vous êtes pour la première fois en compétition.
But this is the first film you have in competition.
Est-ce que lorsque vous avez été invité à
When
être
you
en
were
compétition,
invited
ça vous a
to be in competition,
eu
were you
peur?
surprised? Were you afraid?
Ou étiez-vous simplement content?
Or were you just pleased?
All three of them, I think.
Okay.
No, I was 8 years ago. I was here with my first movie, Sangre, and it's nice to be supported and that they believe in the things that I'm doing. It's very nice.
Okay. Do you fear the idea, the concept of competition, or?
I was more, once I'm here, I see how it is. I'm less worried. Not to do anything with the competition. I haven't seen any movie at all, but it's a bit of a circus and it's fun and just enjoy it more here.
So you're getting used to our madness.
Yes.
Thank you. One person I think is making her first trip to Cannes, and that is you. How does it feel? I don't know when you arrived. I don't know how it feels. What was your reaction? Do we look human to you, or do we look like idiots and animals? Or both?
No, ninguna.
None of those things.
Pues primero todo fue muy emocionante.
Well, it's a very moving experience. I've never traveled outside Mexico, in fact. What surprised you most to start with when you arrived? Well, that people spoke such a very different language from my own. I didn't understand a single word. A question to Amat. How did you find her to play this part? I imagine that she is playing her first part in the cinema. How did you find her as an actress?
Well, my brother Martin helped in the casting of the movie, and he was walking in the streets of Guanajuato, where we live, and he saw her and he took a picture of her and he showed me the picture, and we were excited just by how she looked for the idea that I had in the movie. And then I met her, and right away I hoped, as soon as I saw her, when I met her, I thought I hope I can that she's available to work in the movie and that we can work together. And it was really nice to work with her. I think it was nice for her also.
I don't know. Was it?
Sí, mucho.
Yes, it was a real pleasure.
But how did you react when he approached you to either take your picture or to say you are becoming a film actor?
¿No? ¿No se escuchó? No. Pero lo tienes en español.
Vous voulez que je repose la question?
I can ask the question again.
Comment avez-vous réagi? How did you react when they approached you to take your picture and when he finally said, you are going to be it? Did you go, why me? I'm not an actress. What are you talking about?
Pues primero tuve una reacción de
Well,
miedo.
first of all, I felt really frightened.
Pero ya
It scared me, the idea, but then
socializando más con Amat, con las demás
I
personas
got
que
to know Amat
participaban
better and
en
the
el
other
proyecto, y así
people
fue
involved in the film, and it was an excellent experience for me.
Et pour vous, Armando, comment
And for you, Armando, what did it feel like to be acting with someone who has virtually no experience as an actress, or and also someone who's so very young, who has little experience of life? Well, it was a lot of fun. It was fun.
Recordaban siempre que habíamos tenido ellos y yo un golpe de suerte al estar ahí.
We were all extraordinarily lucky to be in the film. It wasn't easy for me to be in the film. We are very fortunate. That's how we viewed things from beginning to end. And so that's how we actually experienced the shooting of the film. But you were playing in the film with someone who's very, very young indeed. Did you have to be more direct, more fresh, more simple in a way? Yes, indeed. We had to simplify everything. Amat is very direct, and the tendency was to say things as they are. The others helped me a very great deal. They showed me how to speak, how the people in the region actually spoke, and they helped me to relax while I was shooting the film. One last question, and then we'll move to the floor. The film we saw last night begins by a scene where you see someone hanging. When you were writing the screenplay, did you decide by showing this very powerful image right at the very beginning and then move on to a flashback in the film?
That first shot was one of them. I have few images that come to me before I write the script that are anchor points, let's say, and that help me to know where I want to go. And that, for some reason, that image was one that I knew always I was going to start the movie with. So that never changed. I tried to change it in the editing, and it didn't work. So I left it there. Yeah. It was always there.
It's true that part of the script, Amat was very specific about that he wanted it to begin that way. And even though sometimes we rewrote the whole script almost from scratch, something that remained particularly like the two last drafts, where it was very important for the film to begin that way. And it was one of the things that Amat was quite specific about. He wanted it to begin that way.
Monsieur, Madame ensuite.
Thank you very much for this splendid, incredible film. It deserved having more journalists here, actually, but that's typical of Cannes. I often think of Buñuel's Los Olvidados. It's not to be difficult, but it's quite magnificent, your film. You were very courageous to produce a sort of modern-day Olvidados. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I think I've always, from my first short film, Los Olvidados has been, I've admired it very much, and I feel I'm always making Los Olvidados a little bit. Thank you.
So you don't mind the comparison between Los Olvidados? I mean, would you consider your film being called Los Olvidados, 2013?
No, I think it wouldn't make sense, and also I never thought of it. So, but now that he says it, it's okay. I mean, it's a great movie. I love it, and but I wouldn't think if I were to see my movie and Los Olvidados, I wouldn't put them together necessarily.
Oh, me and Buñuel were so close. Ma'am, and then Monsieur.
Karen Batt of Huffington Post. I found your film fantastic, especially with the visual rhythm, the fact that you change from set to set to set to set, and it's always different and very net, the difference, and also the atmosphere, the absolutely desolate, bleak atmosphere. The question I have is that, it's actually personal, I used to go to Mexico all the time, but after seeing your film, I've just canceled a trip I was going to make this summer. You show a country that's destroyed, really in absolute fear, and people are lost in that last scene. It's just devastating. Can you comment on whether things have changed to be that bad in the last 5 years, and whether you feel it yourself, even though you're removed from the violence? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, I'm not, I live there, but of course when I filmed the movie, it's not, the movie is, it's not inspired completely in what I have lived in Mexico or anything like that. It's more, I mean, it's inspired by my love of cinema, no? Sergio Leone, Western movies. But of course, Mexico happens to be a place where I can choose many things that are happening in Mexico, put them together and make a movie that I like and that I hope other people like. But it's not a anti-tourism movie for Mexico at all, in the way I was when I was filming it. It's a drama that is quite extreme, because I think it's even worse, the reality in Mexico, but not an everyday reality. It's also a very, very beautiful country. You shouldn't cancel your trip because of my movie at all. I think it's a very bad idea. I live there, and you're completely safe, everywhere, and except some places, not so safe, maybe. But yeah, you shouldn't cancel any trip to Mexico because of this movie. And it's a fiction movie. It's not a documentary. We didn't set out to make some kind of analysis of the situation in the country at this moment or not. It's a great country, beautiful country that has this virus that invades certain parts, and many people are suffering a lot from it now. So I felt like we had to show it. We had to film it. It wasn't. I never thought, okay, what movie I'm going to do now, what subject. It came very naturally what we were going to do, the next movie I was going to make.
If I may, about what he said, I think if we had a choice of making a film of showing the beautiful things of Mexico, and there are many beautiful things about that country, and to show the bad things about Mexico, maybe just one aspect, because that is just one aspect of the bad things in Mexico and the whole world, because the whole world has violence. I think it would be, what I feel is it would be very socially irresponsible not to talk about those bad things that are happening in our country. And it's true, we're not making a movie saying that the whole country is like that. We're saying a story about a specific family, and it does show bad things, but we're not at all making a manifesto of saying this is life in Mexico. It is just one story of one specific family. And I think that other Mexican filmmakers show as well his stories with violence and bad things that are happening in Mexico and that have happened for the last 50 years or more. And that simply tells us that we're not the only ones saying that type of things. And if other filmmakers are saying them, is because I think we feel as humans, as Mexicans, that we should talk about the bad things. I think that if we never talk about the bad things, then problems might never be solved. I know that there are people trying to solve all types of problems, because the movie does not only talk about violence, it talks about many things. Of course, the violence is what comes out very very loud. It's probably the loudest thing about this movie, but we're in the character of Estela, for example, we have several things that are not specifically about violence, but they're about wrong things in society. So I think that by making a movie about these bad aspects of our lives, we're trying to do our part to fix those problems and making people have conscience about them. And it's not only about Mexico. The way I feel about it is that it is a Mexican movie about a Mexican family, but the whole world has families and the whole world has problems. And I think as a citizen of the world, anyone could identify themselves and hopefully perhaps have some thoughts about their own lives, even if they do not participate in violence or if they're not involved in violence. So it is fiction, and we're trying to tackle a few problems with this movie. But we're not making a, yeah, go ahead. We're not making a manifesto saying this is life in Mexico. It is a fiction about a made-up family. It's not even a true story. It's based on a few facts that we have seen on the media, that every Mexican sees on the media every day. But it's not a movie saying this is life in Mexico. It's just one story in Mexico. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, I interrupted. One detail, the baby that's in the movie, we had to have the mother there, and the mother is 14 years old. So that type of thing that I saw every day in my city there was also a big inspiration of what I wanted to show in the movie, because that's, for me, the future of any country of the world is the babies, the very small children. And I wanted to show that in the movie, So that was an inspiration. And the anecdote is that the baby that is in the movie, the parent that was there taking care of the baby in the set is a 14-year-old mother that was taking care of the baby. And this is in part because in the state where I live, abortion is illegal, which is also mentioned in the movie, and many things also there that do cause my distract me.
Considering what has been said so far, Jaime, it must not have been very easy to find the financing for this movie.
No, actually, it was not. It's never easy, but we have had very good support from all the co-production partners, and even the Mexican IMCINE supporters us since the beginning. And we have French partners in Lepac and Fonsud, and then the German partners in Una Films and the German fund, and also in the Netherlands. So everything came very, not easy, but
Easier.
Easier, yes.
Okay, that's it. How diplomatic of you. The gentleman, and then the gentleman.
Globo, Brazil, a question to Amat. In recent years, Cannes brought here movies like Seed of God, Amores Perros, Zelo Bonaerense, that used violence to show social contradictions in Latin America. I want to understand if you see any dialogue between Heli and those movies I mentioned, especially Amores Perros, and how do you see the whole of violence in your movie? How do you think you deal with violence the way you show it to us? In such a raw and incredible way.
Well, I wanted to go beyond the page-turning type of violence that one is confronted always in Mexico, or any country. When you read the news, you see it and you can turn the page and then that's it. Here I wanted to somehow analyze or go deep into something else beyond the violence only. I'm not saying that I did that exactly, but I tried. I tried to show not only the violence that we see in the screen, but also in the context that it's happening, which is important for me. The people that are causing it, the people who are watching the violence happening in the movie. That was the important part for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in making a movie. I would rather do an effect shot, put it on the internet, and see what people comment. If I wanted just to show violence for the sake of violence. But I have some kind of need or something that wants me to show the context and the way that violence is affecting the young people in the movie specifically. You know? And yeah, you spoke of a few movies that do have something in common, I guess, because these are all countries that corruption and drug money is important part of the economy. So maybe that's what they have in common, that they're filmed in countries like this where corruption is more rampant than normal, you know? And that the drugs are also being important part, trafficking. Yeah.
The lady in yellow, or the gentleman? Monsieur, and then the lady. Allez-y.
Peter Balhut, German television. I have a question for Mr. Escalante. I was wondering what's the concept of sexuality in the film? There's this constant battle between Heli and his wife of he is approaching her and she's refusing him, and then there's the offer of the policewoman to him. So how did that fit in your concept, the whole film?
Well, I think we're always trying to escape somewhere, no? And I think for the character of Eli, he's trying to escape, not escape, but he's trying to find something in love and sex, no? Something that he can't obtain maybe. And her, she just had a baby in the movie, and she doesn't feel like giving him sex, basically. But I can't analyze myself of why exactly all these sex situations happen in the movie. Of course, I think I'm curious of sex and death and violence, so that's all in the film. For me, the sex in the film is in a way the last hope that there is. That's where everything can be saved or destroyed by creating new life and having sex. So I think that's also why the importance of it in the film, especially towards the end of the movie and during the movie.
Ma'am?
Hi, it's Jill Lawless from the Associated Press. Another question about the violence, I'm afraid. I wonder, the violence in the film was often very graphic, but it was also filmed in, I thought, a very unblinking, kind of detached way. Were you setting out to try and find a way to show violence that's a sort of antithesis of the Hollywood depiction of violence?
Not consciously so much, but yeah, I think I want to, and once I'm, in cinematic terms, I'm trying to find a way of filming things that are not that I haven't seen before, and that's every shot of the movie is that, really. So with the violence, I also try to go in a way that I haven't seen before, or to the audience, to get the attention of the audience in new ways. So yeah.
Can I say something about that? I think generally, in a psychological way, when we talk about something, it's healthy, and when we live something and we do not talk about it, I think it's unhealthy. So I think, in a way, venting this violence and showing it, and showing the story of how it happened, I think that we're trying to do something that is healthy, so that it will be talked about. Whatever is seen exists. What we can see exists. What we cannot see does not exist. And in Mexico, we see a lot of graphic violence on the written press, on the photographic press, and on the video press every day on television. And a lot of us are very tired of watching that, which is perhaps one of the reasons as well why we present this violence, because we do not agree with this violence, we are against it. So we show it again to talk about it, to expose it once more, even if it's fiction, it's not real. What we're showing in the film, of course, it's not real, it's talking about something that is real. So we're trying to vent this as well, Because if not, we would be hiding it, in a way, I think. We would be hiding the violence, and it would not exist, and it does exist, and it's there, and we're one more movie saying that it's a problem that must be dealt with in Mexico and in the whole world.
And also, like in a political way, if I'm going to show violence, I'm going to give it the weight that it should have. Also, I think, you know, in a moral way, maybe even, because what's the point of showing, not showing the violence, just so that the audience can then go through the story and not suffer so much, when actually that's not how violence is in real life. As you saw in the movie, it's really painful probably, and it's really unpleasant and very depressing and sad. And if I'm going to deal with violence, and we didn't write necessarily a comedy. You know, we have some funny moments maybe, but wasn't thought of it as a comedy. So in a moral way, I think even the responsibility is to show the violence how it should be, sad and unpleasant and very dirty and a nightmare.
It's true, in some movies we can probably see 100 people get killed, 1,000, and perhaps we don't feel anything. We don't feel sad, we don't feel hurt, we don't feel sad in any way. And after all, it's just a movie, so we do not really feel hurt by a movie. But it's true, I think if we see violence in a movie and it looks shocking, it looks as if something is wrong, then perhaps we're getting a true look at how violence is, because violence is bad and it is shocking. And if we see other movies where people are getting massacred, but somehow we don't feel sad, I think probably we did something right in this movie by showing the violence in a way that people could see it as something that is wrong.
No, there's something that was mentioned last night after the press screening, which is there is a fairly graphic torture scene, but that takes place in a kind of normal, ordinary, family-like shack with children either participating or watching video, or just the presence of children in that scene made some people wonder where they were at.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the whole point of that scene. I wouldn't have put that scene there if it was a bunch of men doing it, because for me that's not something that I need to show anymore. You've seen that, but the reality is also there's many realities, of course, but this is true. These children, 10 years old, 12, are being passed through this situation in their lives, and that's what's sad about it, you know. And I couldn't show it halfway, because if I'm going to start showing that, for me, I have to go all the way. That's just my theory with movies. Hitchcock said, if you don't show it, it's more powerful. You know, I've always remembered that, but I've tried to do the opposite in my last movies. Just trying different
gentleman, and then the lady.
I'm Jorge Sanchez. I'm the General Director of the Mexican Film Institute. And let me tell you that we're very proud of the film. And we would like to congratulate the whole team of the film. We know that we were supposing that this talk will go through violence in some way. And we were right. And I wanted to tell to this lady that please don't cancel your trip. If it costs some extra money, we will afford it with you, really, yes. But we think that we shouldn't be afraid of talk about violence. I think it's part of I don't know if it is the right word, but of a sanation, social sanation that we need to do. So we need to talk about, we need to take position about it, and I think it's the only way to stop it. We can't avoid that issue. And once again, we think it's a great film. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Now the microphone to the lady here.
It's just a question about what happens at the end. Am I correct in intuiting that it's a question to both Heli and to you, the director? Okay. that he goes numb in this movie after seeing and experiencing everything he has, and then when he kills the man in the grass, is that a sort of catharsis that allows him to have this sexual experience at the end of the film? Is that a catharsis of some sort? That kind of a sad catharsis because it ends kind of in a dismal way.
Well, I think maybe it's better for him first because.
Debo decir que yo no sabía.
Well, I have to admit
la secuencia de las escenas. Las filmé sin saber que iban una después de otra, pero
I really, when I saw the film, I realized that there was a link. I hadn't realized it when I was acting in the film, but when I actually saw it, I realized that there was this possible link. This character I was portraying felt very powerful.
Es fuerte decirlo, y al final lo viví. Se siente poderoso.
He feels powerful
haberle dado a él y a su familia, a su hermana,
because
la tranquilidad de que ya no existe algo que los dañó, ¿no? Ese hombre
now he knows that nothing more can harm the family.
Después de ese poder, yo creo que es como consigue de algún modo,
as a result of this power he experiences,
sexo con su mujer y es
he is able to have sex with his wife in his house. He doesn't have to look for anything anymore. So I think it's a question of a link between the sense of power and then the sex. Also, mention was made of the link between violence and sex. Through this character, there's no doubt as to the fact that these two things are very close. This is why I wanted to refer to this issue of feeling powerful.
For me, those type of analysis is difficult because one thing is the script, another is the shooting, and then the editing. And what you're talking about came, I think, from the editing. You know, before that, it was really not so apparent. But then when I edited the film, that scene at the end, which I actually edited last minute also, because we had a cut, and then a few weeks later I decided to do some changes there, and I changed that scene specifically. Then I saw that it became something else, the ending, and I liked that feeling, that you basically explained it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like the end of an orgasm is sad. No? Maybe for some, I don't know. Sometimes, I think because it's emptiness. No, I mean, like then it's empty, and that's the feeling I wanted to have there in the film.
One last question, providing it's short.
One last question, and wait.
C'est très simple.
It's very simple.
Comment vous avez pu
How?
Effectivement, non un type qui vient du peuple,
were you able to write about the social reality of the people, because that's not your normal setting? You didn't show any of the very beautiful landscapes or anything. You've shown something that's really brutal, very surrealistic, yet you're a real bourgeois. You don't come from that social class. How did you manage this? How did you succeed in doing it? It's quite a miracle.
Well, if I were to take you to my house and my family's house next to me, you wouldn't say the same thing, actually, because you're being prejudiced of how I look. No? But I understand what you mean. And the movie itself is, I always try to be I don't like to go, I'm going to make a movie about people that are suffering or anything. Really, truly, I tried to make a movie of people that are in the middle, that are not, and people in the middle, for me, this is how two people of this house work in good jobs, okay? So in Mexico, this for me is a normal family. I didn't try to go show what happens to them is miserable, it's very bad. But as a beginning in this setting, and I even go through it at the beginning of the film when they do a census of it. They go over, they have all the necessities of life. No? And many people in Mexico don't have running water, don't have electricity, and I specifically made it that these people did and everything. No? So, for me, they're not, it's not such different class than me, really. And it's the majority of Mexicans, so I have to make a movie of, I don't have to, but I feel more comfortable making a movie of what I see mostly right now, in this film particularly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult for me to think of myself as apart from the people I'm filming also, and I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm not bourgeois because I'm not gonna defend myself of that type of thing. But it's difficult to understand maybe for people from outside looking at me. I'm Mexican. My father's from Mexico. My mother's from the United States. So I came out white, whiter than most Mexicans, basically. So it seems a little bit. It's a trick of the eye.
On that note, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much for being here, and all the best for the film.